On my wife's birthday, I rushed back from out of town overnight. But the one who opened the door was my male assistant wearing my bathrobe. President Liu, I came to report to President Jiang about work and accidentally got caught in the rain, so I took a shower. Please don't misunderstand. What's there to explain? My wife, also wearing a bathrobe, walked out of the bathroom with a disdainful look, her eyes full of disgust as she looked at me. Aren't you on a business trip? Why are you back? I was silent for a moment, then shook my head and chuckled. It's nothing, just came back to get some documents. I casually threw the carefully selected birthday gift into the trash can and then sent a message to the lawyer. Help me draft a divorce agreement. Chapter 1. The two were intimately close as if no one else was around, completely disregarding my presence beside them. I walked into the study with a blank face. When I came out with the documents, the two were already lying on the sofa embracing, and the assistant Li Mingwei's hand had already reached under the hem of my wife's bathrobe. Seeing me come out, he reluctantly pulled his hand out and provocatively put it under his nose to smell it. Then he said to me with a look of intoxication, "Sorry, President Liu, President Jiang said she just took a shower and was a little cold, so I'm helping her warm up. Please don't misunderstand." What a ridiculous excuse. Before I could speak, my wife Jiang Yin glared at me impatiently. Aren't you here to get documents? Now that you have them, why don't you leave quickly? Do you want me to kick you out? I only felt my breath catch in my throat. Since when did she become like this? I remember when we first got married. Even if I went on a short trip, she would give me all sorts of instructions and reluctantly see me off all the way to the airport. But now, I'm just getting a document, and she thinks I'm being slow. Fine, I'll leave right away. I turned around, intending to leave just like that. But Li Mingwei suddenly spoke provocatively. President Liu, remember to close the door. I'm afraid the noise will be too loud later and disturb the neighbors. I frowned, turned my head, and stared at him intently. After a long while I laughed. You guys should also be quieter. This sofa is quite expensive. Clearly he provoked me first, but as soon as I said this, he looked aggrieved. President Liu, you misunderstood. I'm going to help President Jiang exercise later, so. Jiang Yin was also full of anger. Liu Tianchen, what do you mean by that? Just kidding. Why are you so agitated? I laughed ambiguously, but in reality, my heart was in extreme pain. Qin Yin glared at me fiercely. If you have any complaints, come at me. What kind of ability is it to keep picking on Shaoli? Li Mingwei quickly got up. I'm sorry, President Jiang. Please don't argue because of me. It's my fault. I'll leave now. No need. Jiang Yin pushed him back down against her chest, then looked at me coldly. Can you stop making trouble every day? Even getting a document has to cause me trouble. Are you annoying or what? I glanced at him and finally turned my head and left expressionlessly. The moment the door closed behind me, I only felt a dull pain in my chest, so painful that I couldn't help but bend over, gasping for breath. 5 years. In just 5 years, my relationship with my wife has gone from being intimate and inseparable at the beginning to this state now. Is marriage really the tomb of love? After a long while, I recovered, ignored the moaning sounds coming from inside the door, and strode away. When I arrived at the airport, I received a message from Jiang Yin. Look at you. What do you look like? Shaoli rushed over in the rain to report to me about work. What's wrong with me? Showing him some concern. As a man, can't you be more generous? I stared blankly at my phone. Before I could reply, her impatient call came. Are you blind? I sent you a message. Quickly apologized to Shaoli. You've made him so angry that he's in a bad mood. On the other end of the phone, Li Mingwei sighed pretentiously. I'm sorry, sister. I'm really hurt. I sneered, hung up the phone directly, and turned off my phone. Chapter 2. This kind of thing wasn't happening for the first time. Ever since Li Mingwei joined the company and was specially recruited by Jiang Yin as her assistant, her heart started to unconditionally favor this big boy in his early 20s. Every time I clashed with Li Mingwei because of their excessive contact, she would always be biased in various ways. And in the end, it would almost always end with me apologizing to Li Mingwei. Half a month ago, I needed to discuss work-related matters with her. But as soon as I entered the door, I saw them walking out of the lounge, disheveled. Through the gap between them, I could clearly see that the bed in the lounge was messy. Obviously, something had happened. You should know, normally even I, her own husband, wasn't allowed to even step foot into this lounge to rest. I was completely stunned, wanting to explode, but the words were on the tip of my tongue, yet I couldn't say anything. Facing my questioning gaze, Li Mingwei smiled nonchalantly. President Liu, don't misunderstand. General Manager Jiang is too tired from work and her spine is uncomfortable. I was just giving her a massage. I wanted to believe him, but a man and a woman alone together in a room, messy bed, disheveled clothes. No matter how you look at it, it's easy to misunderstand, right? Afterwards, I subtly mentioned this incident to Jiang Yin. I told her that she was, after all, a married woman and should still keep some distance from men. But Jiang Yin flew into a rage after hearing this. What are you implying? I work myself to the bone every day, and Shaoli kindly gives me a massage. How does it become twisted when it comes from your mouth? Is there anything else in your head besides dirty thoughts? I couldn't help but argue back. What do I mean? You two alone in a room? Is that something you can even talk about openly? Jiang Yin got even angrier, started throwing things, said I was just suspicious of her, and we broke out into a fierce argument. From her behavior at the time, I suspected she must be guilty. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so agitated. But lacking evidence, and also because I still had feelings for her. As time passed day by day, I also pretended nothing had happened. Until the project was finalized. The day before I left on a business trip to inspect the site, the company held a banquet to celebrate and send me off. During the banquet, Li Mingwei got completely drunk and Jiang Yin, as my wife, not only didn't think about taking care of me, but instead sat next to Li Mingwei, deflecting drinks for him in every way. Colleagues saw this scene and all looked at me, some with ridicule, but more with sympathy. At this, I pretended not to see anything and continued to enthusiastically encourage everyone to eat, drink, and be merry. I don't know if it was because of my tolerance, but after the party ended, Jiang Yin volunteered to take Li Mingwei home and didn't come back all night. When she came home early the next morning, she even explained to me, saying she just took care of him overnight and nothing happened. But the missing stockings on her legs and the dense kiss marks on her chest all screamed that last night was intense. But I still chose to ignore it. I consoled myself. Perhaps they were just mosquito bites. But everything that happened tonight makes me feel like I'm a complete idiot. Time and time again, I believed her. Time and time again, I forgave her. What I got in return wasn't understanding, but things just getting progressively worse. She actually brought her little lover directly back home. That was the marital home that she and I had worked so hard to buy when we got married. It was our love nest, symbolizing our love. She even brought another man to stay the night. Even if I'm an idiot, even now, I can't convince myself to believe that nothing is going on between them. From the beginning, from dating to marriage, throughout this long relationship, I was always the one who compromised. After all, relationships always have friction and arguments. In a marriage, someone always has to be willing to take a step back. Since she wasn't willing, then I would. But my repeated compromises just made her take advantage of me. Since that's the case, then there's no need to step back anymore. I choose to leave. Chapter 3. I met Jiang Yin in university. She was quite a celebrity in school back then. Because her parents divorced early, she grew up with her mother. Perhaps because her mother was busy with work, her discipline was not strict, only providing her with ample material things. This made her spoiled, willful, and unreasonable, and almost no one was willing to approach such a person, including me. She was a headache for teachers, so of course, I kept my distance. But for some reason, maybe because I was a model student in everyone's eyes, Jiang Yin set her sights on me. Not only did she invite me to meals every day in various ways, but on weekends, she would even take me for drives, and gifts for various holidays never stopped. Although I politely refused everything, she remained persistent. Regarding this, I also asked her the reason. Her answer was, "Because you are a good person. Others either despise me or covet my money. Only you are different. I just want to have a normal friend." That moment of loneliness made my heart clench. I thought, maybe everyone misunderstood her. Her being spoiled and willful was just putting on a layer of armor with thorns for herself. But in reality, her inner self was also soft, and she longed to connect with others. Thinking of this, I smiled and nodded to her. "Okay then, from today on, I am your friend. By the way, my name is Liu Tianqin." Jiang Yin smiled, and it was the first time I realized that a girl could look so beautiful when she smiled and cried. From that day on, we became the best of friends. We studied together, went to the library, and took walks on the playground. She would also take me off campus to go racing, horseback riding, and ice skating. My friends all thought I was crazy, and even teachers advised me to stay away from such a bad student. Everyone thought Jiang Yin was just playing around with me, and would naturally get bored after playing enough. But I could see that she was sincere in treating me well. The more I interacted with her, the more I felt sorry for her. Although she was rich, she was very lonely. She had no father since childhood, and didn't even have a single true friend by her side. She deserved to be loved. For her sake, I even gave up my qualification for direct recommendation to graduate school to graduate with her together. Jiang Yin was very grateful and invited me to work at her mother's company. It was also this opportunity that I met her mother, that famous, powerful woman. In her villa, Jiang's mother held my hand, tears streaming down her face. "Little Lu, thank you for always being with Xiao Yin. She has really changed a lot. I can see that she likes you very much. I am an unqualified mother. I beg you to stay by her side. I only want her to be happy. She is a great mother. I couldn't refuse a mother's heart worried about her daughter. Plus, I also genuinely had feelings for Jiang Yin, so I accepted her invitation and stayed at her company. But later I found out that Jiang's mother had already been diagnosed with late-stage liver cancer at that time. Knowing that her days were numbered, the only thing she couldn't let go of was her obedient daughter. In her dying moments, she called me to her bedside, held my hand, and repeatedly begged me to treat her daughter well. After I promised, she passed away with a smile. To fulfill my promise to Jiang's mother, Jiang Yin and I got married. Jiang Yin didn't like busy work. Nominally, she was the president, but in reality, I handled almost all the company's affairs, big and small. Regarding this, I also worked hard without complaint. After all, I truly loved her to the bone at that time. Every time I worked overtime late into the night, when I was exhausted, she would gently massage me and act cute in my ear. "Husband, you've worked hard." While massaging, she would also comfort me. "Husband, it's okay. When you can't work anymore in the future, I will protect you. I will absolutely not let anyone hurt you." But now, she herself has become the person who hurt me the most. Chapter 4. Back from the business trip, it was already half a month later. The company held a welcome-back banquet for me. At the dinner table, Li Mingwei, who arrived late, very naturally sat down next to Jiang Yin, in the empty seat specifically left for him. The atmosphere, which was originally quite lively, instantly cooled down. Everyone fell silent as cicadas in winter, and all eyes fell on me. In the past, I would have definitely flown into a rage. But now, I just smiled and casually found an empty seat to sit down. From beginning to end, I didn't say a single unnecessary word. Everyone present, except for the two of them, breathed a sigh of relief. But in fact, they didn't need to worry at all, because during this business trip, I had already figured things out. I didn't care anymore. Just as everyone was suggesting to drink, Li Mingwei suddenly stood up. "President Liu, you truly are the pillar of the company. This successful collaboration is at least half due to your efforts. I toast you with this glass to thank you for bringing such great profits to the company." Having said that, he tilted his head back and drank it all in one gulp. "I finished mine. You can do as you please." I sat in my chair, with no intention of moving at all. Jiang Yin was unhappy when she saw this. "Xiao Li is toasting you, and you're holding it without moving. Are you not giving him face or not giving me face?" I calmly glanced at her. "So she's already taking sides? I just took cephalosporin. I can't drink alcohol." "Who are you kidding?" Jiang Yin didn't believe it. "Knowing there was a welcome-back banquet today, you intentionally took cephalosporin, right?" I sighed, feeling extremely tired of her unreasonable behavior. I picked up my chopsticks, just about to eat something to fill my stomach. Jiang Yin suddenly slammed the table. "Lu Tianqian, are you deaf?" The private room instantly became quiet. So quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everyone looked at us with embarrassed and nervous expressions, not daring to even breathe loudly. Just then, Li Mingwei spoke up. President Jiang, don't be angry." He stood up, holding a glass of wine, and walked towards me. "President Liu, this glass of wine, you have to drink it today whether you want it or not. I'm sincerely apologizing to you. You can't make me lose face, can you?" I looked up, giving him a look that was both smiling and not smiling. I said I took cephalosporin. Can't you understand human language? Having said that, I directly raised my hand and knocked over the wine glass he offered. The wine immediately spilled all over him. This time, Jiang Yin completely lost her composure. Are you crazy? Jiang Yin rushed over. Do you think that just because you negotiated a project successfully, you can be fearless and unrestrained? Fearless and unrestrained? I shook my head and chuckled softly. Think whatever you want. My attitude made her feel even more provoked. She raised her hand, picked up a wine bottle from the side, poured a large glass of wine, and handed it to me. You won't drink Xiao Li's toast. You can't refuse to drink mine, right? Her eyes were like knives, her tone full of threat. If you don't drink, pack your things and get out immediately. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to come to the company anymore. Everyone was in an uproar. Everyone knew that this company could be maintained until today, and my contributions were indispensable. Unfortunately, Jiang Yin didn't seem to see this point. Facing her aggressiveness, I smiled and, in front of everyone, took out the resignation letter I had already prepared. I won't drink. This is my resignation letter. Starting tomorrow, I will no longer work with you all. Chapter 5. After hearing my words, Jiang Yin was stunned, her eyes full of disbelief. She probably thought that I would compromise and concede, as I always had before. Unfortunately, remember to sign, or things will get ugly in the end, I said hoarsely, getting up to leave. Li Mingwei grabbed my arm. President Liu, why bother? President Jiang is just joking with you. Why are you so angry? Get lost. I raised his hand with a jerk. Other colleagues also came up to dissuade me. President Liu, it's such a happy day. Why make it so unpleasant? That's right. You and President Jiang are husband and wife. What can't you talk about? Before I could speak, Jiang Yin coldly reprimanded. Don't stop him. Let him go. Do you think threatening me will scare me? Li Mingwei started pretending to be a good guy again, coming forward to pull me. President Liu, don't be like this. He leaned close to me, suddenly lowered his voice, and said sarcastically, Your wife is really juicy. I was instantly furious and raised him with a jerk, but a hint of triumph clearly flashed in his eyes. Ouch! Li Mingwei exclaimed, falling to the ground. Jiang Yin was trembling with anger at the sight and rushed over to push me away. Are you trying to die today? Everyone get out of here. At her command, everyone immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly left. Even Li Mingwei, who wanted to stay, was driven out. When only the two of us were left in the room, Jiang Yan's face was gloomy. What exactly do you want? Are you trying to make me lose all face in front of so many people? I couldn't help but sneer. You also know about losing face? When you made me lose face, why didn't you think about this? Jiang Yin frowned, seeming to realize something, her tone dissatisfied. It's about Lily again? Didn't I tell you? There's really nothing between me and him. Can you not always be so petty? In an instant, the string that had been taut in my mind completely snapped. The emotions that had been suppressed for so long burst out at this moment. Yes, I am petty. I roared at her. I can't stand my wife being ambiguous with another man all day long. I can't stand a man appearing in my home wearing my bathrobe, flirting with my wife. I can't stand a gigolo provoking me in front of my face all day long. The words that had been accumulating in my heart for a long time were all vented by me. But I didn't feel any pleasure. Instead, my heart was even more depressed and painful. Sure enough, when you tear open a scar that hasn't healed, it will only bleed more. Jiang Yin was stunned, seemingly not expecting me to suddenly explode. After a long silence, she slowly said, I thought you didn't mind. I sneered. Not mind? As long as it's a normal person with normal thinking for this kind of thing, for his beloved wife, openly flirting with another man, no one can accept it, let alone mind or not mind. No man would not mind, except for me. I didn't mind before, because my heart had been hurt by disappointment again and again, falling apart. Or rather, I no longer loved her. I took a deep breath and showed her a bitter smile. Sorry, I lost my composure. Chapter 6. I turned to leave, but Jiang Yin suddenly pounced on me, tightly hugging my waist from behind. I should be the one apologizing. I'm sorry, husband. I should have been more considerate of your feelings. I promise I will never be with Li Mingwei again. No, I'll make him resign tomorrow. Please don't leave, okay? I didn't speak, just slowly and firmly removed her hands. This wasn't the first time I'd heard these words. When she first specially recruited Li Mingwei as her assistant, I was a bit bothered. After all, he was a man, and they would inevitably have too much contact at work. At that time, Jiang Yin hugged me with a smile. "Hubby is jealous? If you don't like it, I'll change to a female assistant tomorrow. You are my husband. No one can take me away from you." I was very pleased with this. The reason our relationship had lasted so many years was that we were direct and didn't beat around the bush. But she didn't do what she said, and even brought Li Mingwei to our wedding anniversary. She said she felt Li Mingwei was capable, a good person, and didn't have bad intentions. "Oh, why are you getting angry with a kid? Be magnanimous." At that moment, I was already full of disappointment. Not keeping promises, besides disappointment, there was only disappointment. I didn't say much. Maybe it was my silence that made her even more unscrupulous. Their relationship became increasingly intimate, and they even started having frequent physical contact. My heart sank day by day. I tried to talk to her about it. After all, the employees in the company were also watching and gossiping behind their backs. But Jiang Yin was always impatient with my remarks. "You also know I don't like work. I finally recruited an assistant who can play with me, and you still want to control this and that. Don't forget, this company is mine. I can do whatever I want. For the sake of this family, for the sake of my relationship with her, I chose to compromise." But then once, there was a problem with Li Mingwei's work. I had just called him to the office when Jiang Yin rushed over after hearing the news. "Why are you always targeting him? He's a newcomer, just joined the company. It's inevitable that there will be problems. Why are you nitpicking?" I couldn't help but retort. His job is the boss's assistant. If there are any mistakes, it will affect the entire company. Jiang Yin looked disdainful. "Then what do you say? Dismiss him?" Before I could speak, Li Mingwei immediately bowed to me with a wronged expression. "I'm sorry, President Liu, I know you don't like me. I'll go submit my resignation report later. Please don't argue with General Jiang." This gesture immediately made Jiang Yin feel sorry for him, pointing at my nose and scolding. "Are you only happy when you force someone to death? Little Li came to this city to make a living alone. It's not easy. How can you have no sympathy at all?" After speaking, she pulled Li Mingwei away, and the matter was dropped. It was precisely because of such precedents that I no longer had any trust in her. No need to apologize. Let's go our separate ways from now on, each living our own life. Hearing this, Jiang Yin was dumbfounded. Her face slowly turned pale, without a trace of blood, and her voice trembled. You mean you want to divorce me?" Looking at her red eyes, there was no fluctuation in my heart. "Yes, I will have someone prepare the divorce agreement later. You just need to sign it then." After saying that, I turned to leave. "Husband!" Behind me, Jiang Yin broke down and cried. I didn't look back, nor did I hesitate in the slightest. My fate with her was over. Chapter 7. Before leaving, the company's deputy general manager called. "General Manager Liu, you are really resigning?" "Yes." The deputy general manager's emotions became agitated. "What about the project? You also know that General Manager Jiang never cares about anything. If this project fails, the blow to the company will be fatal. Can you wait? Wait until the project is finalized." "I'm sorry," I sighed. "I have already secured the project. As for how to do it and when to do it, that's your business." "But the company is not one person's. Anyone can continue after someone leaves." I interrupted him. The deputy general manager hesitated for a long time, and finally sighed deeply. "In short, General Manager Liu, I have always felt it was lucky to work with you, and I hope we will have the opportunity to cooperate again in the future." I had no reaction, just perfunctorily responded with a few words. Since I decided to resign, I didn't plan to have any more involvement with this company that belonged to Jiang Yin. Back home, I immediately started packing my things. Inadvertently, I saw the marriage certificate placed in the living room. In the photo, the smile on her face was so happy. I was a little lost in thought. Coming back to my senses, I sighed and turned the photo face down. Just as I was about to leave, carrying my suitcase, the door opened, and Jiang Yin rushed in a hurry. Seeing the suitcase in my hand, her eyes immediately turned red, and she reached out to snatch my suitcase. "I don't agree. You can't leave." I shook my head and sighed. "Is this interesting? You know, I will never regret what I decide. You can stop me for a while, but can you stop me for a lifetime?" "Of course I can." She looked stubborn, hugged me tightly, and raised her head to kiss me. I pushed her away in disgust. She was stunned, tears falling like broken strings of beads, one by one. Why? Why are you doing this to me? She roared in collapse, hitting my chest hard with both hands. I looked at her, my face without any expression. You know the reason, don't you? Why pretend to be innocent? Jiang Yin was stunned. Yes, she knew the reason. She had always known, but she never thought about changing it. Instead, she kept forcing me to compromise. I gently pushed her away and pulled my suitcase to leave. Jiang Yin didn't stop me again, but at the moment I went out the door, she collapsed to the ground, covering her face, her shoulders trembling slightly. Chapter 8. After leaving, I found a rental apartment to settle down and started sending out resumes everywhere. My resume was decent. So many companies sent interview invitations. I didn't agree immediately, because I had already commissioned a lawyer to help draft the divorce agreement. I wanted to wait until Jiang Yin signed it before starting a new job. But unexpectedly, the next day, I received a file from Jiang Yin. Inside were chat logs and voice messages that had been redacted beyond recognition. Looking at those nonsensical dialogues, I didn't know what she wanted to express. Could it be that she intended to use these flawed chat screenshots to tell me that she didn't cheat? I couldn't help but sneer. This kind of clumsy cover-up wouldn't even fool a child. After that, she sent many photos again. They were our group photos from before. From all different periods of time. Photos from when we traveled, when we got married, even from university. Looking at the scenes of the past, my expression became a little dazed. It turned out that she and I had also had times when we loved each other so much. She would act like a little girl, snuggling in my arms and acting cute. She would also throw little tantrums at me. On my birthday, she would personally cook, making a table full of colorful and terrible food. But no matter what, these were all beautiful memories. But sadly, things changed. Everything could no longer go back. I was silent for a while and deleted these photos one by one. Since I had made up my mind to leave, there was no need to reminisce about the past. It was meaningless, just a waste of time. When the lawyer sent the divorce agreement to me, I called her. The divorce agreement is ready. I'll come to your company to find you. She didn't speak, was silent for a long time, and hung up the phone. I looked at the divorce agreement. The lawyer, according to my request, listed me as the one leaving with nothing. I don't want anything. Just consider it as putting a period on our love. I picked up a pen and wrote my name stroke by stroke. During the process, scenes from the past kept flashing in my mind. The first time we met, the first hug, the first kiss. For her, I gave up my qualification for postgraduate recommendation, and she scolded me for being a fool. In front of Zhang's mother's sickbed, I earnestly promised her that I would love her for a lifetime. As the last stroke was finished, a teardrop fell on it, blurring the ink. Those past memories, the beautiful parts one will seal away, the sad parts one will discard. But I will not turn back, nor is it possible to turn back. Everything should end. I wiped my slightly moist eyes, picked up the divorce agreement, and went straight to Jiang Yin's company. Arriving at the company, Jiang Yin seemed to have instructed someone, so I went all the way through unimpeded. Reaching the office, I took a deep breath, opened the door, and went in. Jiang Yin was sitting at her desk. In just 3 days, she had become unusually haggard. She was simply like a different person. Seeing me, a smile, even uglier than crying, appeared on her pale face. "You've come?" I nodded, stepped forward, and put the divorce agreement on the table. "Take a look. If there are no problems, then sign it." Jiang Yin didn't look at it, her eyes slightly red, staring fixedly at me. "Does it really have to come to this? You should know I love you." I lowered my head, without saying a word. It was an established fact. There was no need to argue about anything. She may have really loved me, but that love had already deteriorated a long time ago. Sign it. Chapter 9. There's no need to waste any more time. Jiang Yan's tears flowed uncontrollably as she almost tremblingly opened the divorce agreement. Just as she was about to sign, the office door opened. It was the company's vice president, Director Jiang. "That project. Lao Lu?" Seeing me, he was very surprised. "Great, you're finally back. That project is giving me a headache. Quickly." "I'm not back to resume my position." I interrupted him and then looked at Jiang Yan. "Sign quickly. I still need to go to an interview." Jiang Yan took a deep breath and closed the agreement. "I can sign, but you have to agree to a condition first." "Condition?" I frowned. I've already agreed to leave with nothing, and you still have the nerve to ask for a condition? Jiang Yin bit her lip. The project you negotiated before is very important to the company. As long as you are responsible for completing the project, I will agree to the divorce and guarantee never to bother you again. She paused and then continued to add, 10% of the project's profits I can give to you. I nodded. Okay. Having said this much, there was no reason to refuse, especially since I really needed money. However, right after I nodded in agreement, Jiang Yin directly brought Li Mingwei in. Next, Xiaoli will be your assistant to help you complete the project throughout. I looked at her calmly, and after a long while, smiled sarcastically. What? You want me to train someone for you? Jiang Yin lowered her head guiltily and stammered. You are going to resign? I have to leave someone in the company who can take on important responsibilities, right? Xiaoli is a graduate of a prestigious university. As long as you don't deliberately hold back, he will definitely surpass you. I shrugged my shoulders, not wanting to continue arguing about this issue. Li Mingwei gave me a smug smile. Director Jiang, please give me lots of guidance. I ignored him, took the project materials, and turned to leave. Chapter 10. In the following days, I started to focus on the project. After all, I had already taken it over, so there wasn't much difficulty. Li Mingwei, on the other hand, was very proactive, bustling around me, acting humble and eager to learn. Although I didn't know what he was up to, I didn't bother to hide anything. Not out of generosity, but because it wasn't necessary. Jiang Yin also changed her ways, picking me up and dropping me off from work on time every day and thoughtfully preparing lunchboxes for me. Unfortunately, her cooking was as inedible as ever. In the past, because I loved her, I might have gritted my teeth and endured it. But now, I directly threw the lunchbox into the trash in front of her. You call this food? Is it fit for human consumption? She cried pitifully, looking deeply hurt. I didn't feel anything, because everything she was doing now was meaningless except for self-pity. The day of the project launch arrived quickly. In order to enhance the company's reputation, Jiang Yin specially invited prominent figures from the business world and held a banquet. The guests congratulated Jiang Yin one after another and toasted her with cups of wine. Jiang Yin accepted everyone's toasts, and soon her cheeks were flushed and she looked at me with blurred eyes. Facing the praise from the people around her, she shook her head. This is all thanks to my husband. She waved at me. Husband, come here. I frowned and didn't go forward, and I noticed that Li Mingwei, who had been standing behind me, had disappeared at some point. I vaguely felt something was wrong. Sure enough, after the representative of Party A took the project proposal, his face changed. What's wrong? Jiang Yin asked in confusion. The representative of Party A's mouth twitched, and he looked at Jiang Yin with mockery. I didn't expect, President Jiang. You're quite the player behind the scenes, but what are you trying to express by putting this kind of thing in the project proposal? We are here to discuss cooperation, not to admire your figure. Jiang Yin was dumbfounded. Without caring too much, she snatched the project proposal and looked at it, her face showing shock. Was there a problem with the project proposal? I frowned and went forward. I had prepared this project proposal myself, so it shouldn't be wrong. But as soon as I looked at it, I was stunned. On the first page of the project proposal, there was a photo. The subjects of the photo were Jiang Yin and Li Mingwei, lying naked in bed, their postures intimate and suggestive. Before I could figure out what was going on, Li Mingwei suddenly pointed at my nose with a shocked expression. President Liu, don't you think this behavior is too despicable? I know you are eager to divorce President Jiang and jealous that I completed the project alone, but you can't use such dirty tricks to smear us, right? How will she be able to face people in the future? Jiang Yin looked at me, her eyes full of disappointment and anger. You actually? Liu Tianqin. Was it really you? Of course it was him. He prepared this project proposal. Who else could it be? Liu Tianqin, you're a veteran employee of the company. How could you be so unprofessional? Jiang Yin questioned me angrily. Why? You're deliberately retaliating against me, aren't you? What's the point of talking to him? Li Mingwei said with contempt. President Jiang and I have a normal superior-subordinate relationship, but because you're narrow-minded, you're full of suspicion. Not only do you want a divorce, but you also want to destroy President Jiang with your own hands. You're simply heartless. A woman as good as President Jiang was blind to marry you. Jiang Yin couldn't hold back any longer and pounced on me, hitting my chest, but after a few blows, her eyes rolled back and she fell to the ground, clutching her chest, her face full of pain. President Jiang. Li Mingwei hurried to help her up and loudly ordered the security guards to throw me out. The eyes of other people present were also full of contempt. Alas, you can know a person's face but not their heart. A long-term marriage will eventually end up like this because of suspicion. No matter what, you shouldn't use such means to retaliate. It's too vicious. The security guards rushed over, but when they met my cold gaze, they didn't dare to act. Li Mingwei shouted loudly, "What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and throw him out." I sneered, looking at him like a clown. In this society, it's not about who has the loudest voice who's right. Why are you so eager to smear me? Feeling guilty. Li Mingwei's eyes flickered. What guilty? Besides you, who else would have the opportunity to get close to the project proposal and do such a despicable thing? I took out my phone. I'm also very curious. So I installed surveillance cameras in the office in advance. Now, let's bring them up and see who did it. Chapter 11. Li Mingwei panicked instantly and rushed forward to snatch my phone. I raised my foot and kicked him to the ground. This display made it clear to everyone present, even idiots, what had happened. "It's you," Jiang Yin said, her eyes red, staring fixedly at Li Mingwei. Li Mingwei waved his hands. "Oh, why? President Jiang, you listen to my explanation." Jiang Yin directly swung her hand and slapped him hard across the face. "Throw him out." The security guards immediately grabbed Li Mingwei. His eyes were full of resentment as he looked at me, gritting his teeth. "You were guarding against me from the start, weren't you?" I smiled slightly. "How could there be surveillance cameras in the office? You're just guilty." Li Mingwei was stunned, and when he came back to his senses, he was flushed with anger. "Ah, I'm going to kill you." But the security guards beside him didn't give him a chance to struggle, forcibly throwing him out. I couldn't help but shake my head. This is probably what they call lifting a stone to drop it on your own feet. Jiang Yin looked guilty. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you." "It's all right." I sent the project file to her. "Remember to sign the divorce agreement. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau gate at 9 tomorrow morning." My task was completed. No need to waste time. Jiang Yin's breath hitched. She was silent for a moment before nodding. "Okay." At the gate of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Jiang Yin was wearing a white dress, the one I gave her when we first got together. She always thought it was too plain and didn't like to wear it. Wearing it now, the reason was self-evident. After receiving the divorce certificate, she gently hugged me. "Thank you. It's me who is sorry to you. You deserve better." After speaking, she turned and left. I looked at her back, then turned and left as well. 3 days later, a lawyer came to my door. "Mr. Liu, I am Ms. Zhang's lawyer." Before she left, she transferred the shares of her company under her name to you. This is the transfer agreement. Please sign it. Also, Ms. Zhang left a letter for you. I was silent for a moment and took the letter from the lawyer's hand. I opened it, and inside there was only a short sentence. "Goodbye, Liu Tianchen." I signed the agreement, and after seeing the lawyer off, I pulled out the number from the blacklist and sent a message. "Goodbye, Jiangyan."